Happy New Year, Highway 231 South Church of Christ. We are so excited about what God is doing at our church. We encourage you to come be a part of what's going on here at Highway 231. This year, our theme is the year of greatness. David said, "Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised." Everything about our God is great, and we aspire to reflect His greatness in this world. This year will have great praise and worship, great efforts, great expectations, great trials, which leads to great victories, great testimonies, great prayer, great study, great hope, great faith, great love, all while serving a great God. Great things are in the works, and great things are already happening. I don't know about you, but this year is going to be great. There is a word on this morning, and I want you to turn to Numbers chapter number 13. I will meet you at verse number 27, but I want you to get this word on your mind this morning. Having a great mindset. A great mindset. Now, if we are going to be focused around greatness this year, it must begin with a great mindset. How we think affects where we will be. So if you are thinking in the rearview mirror, you will stay in the past. But if you are thinking future tense, you will end up being where you think. I may need to say that again. Before you can lose the weight, you have to think. Okay, y'all are laughing. And I know some folks say, I think about it all the time. Well, that's where it starts. Because after our thinking, our body goes with our thought process. So if you're really serious about what you're trying to do, you got to start thinking about it. So after Israel has been liberated, delivered from Egypt, God saw something in their hearts that He had to get rid of. While they were out of Egypt, Egypt wasn't out of them. They still had Egypt in their mindset. They still had Egyptian bondage in their mind. Now, they're free, and I want you to understand this. If your mind has not changed, your situation will change, but you'll still be back where your mind is. You'll be that kind of animal that they open the cage and you don't run out. Y'all aren't with me this morning. And sometimes you think about and talk about, man, I can't wait till I get. You right now are where you didn't think you would be 5 years ago. But if your thinking is still back there, you're still back there. You'll make more money and still be broke. Why? I'm thinking broke. Y'all ain't with me? And so God saw that in them, and the tragedy would be going to Canaan, living in Canaan, and still thinking Egypt, still thinking bondage. And so as He saw that attitude, they started wondering, and God said, maybe if they just kind of walk this thing out, maybe they'll get far enough away from it. And sometimes, even when you leave a bad situation, you keep talking about it. You keep reminiscing about it. It's been 5 years ago. It's been 10, 20 years ago. That person done went on somewhere. Y'all have moved. You in different states, but you still talking about what they used to say. Lord have mercy. And so after 40 years and a new generation, now you got some new people, and God is saying, all right, now we got a new set of group. Y'all are almost there. And let me tell you something. When you're almost there, that's when things get really tough. The further along you are on your journey, the stronger your commitment must be. It's one thing to lose the first 10 pounds. That don't take nothing but going to the gym. It's them last 30. It don't seem like it's coming off. It don't seem like things are changing. And so as they're almost there, God says, watch this. Now I'm at verse number 17, but I'm going to meet y'all at verse number 27. Moses sent them out to spy out the land of Canaan and said to them, go up this way into the south, go up into the mountains and see what the land is like, whether people who dwell in it are strong or weak, few or many, whether the land they dwell in is good or bad, whether the cities they inhabit are like camps or strongholds, whether the land is rich or poor, whether there are forests or not. Listen to Moses. Be of good cheer. Be of good courage and bring some of the fruit of the land. Pay close attention to what God says. I want y'all to go and see what it's like and bring back some of the fruit. Bring back some of it. But notice what he said before. Be of good courage. Have a good attitude about what you see over there. Now, why does God have to say that? Because sometimes we can be thinking, and I'm going to use a word, I don't want y'all to be distracted by it, but we can be thinking ghetto. Now, ghetto by definition, I'm talking about the Merriam definition of the word ghetto, is not hood, but it's thinking the same way that everybody else around you is thinking. That's ghetto. And so sometimes we're thinking ghetto, and you have to get out of ghetto thinking and see something else with a new perspective. I mean, just go look. Now, yeah, you like your apartment, and apartments can be fine, but go look at a house. Just go look at it. And you know what we say when they first dropped that line, and I'm guilty of this myself. We were in an apartment, and we're trying to put our couple of dollars together, and we got a little debt like most of us do. But my realtor said, let's just look. We don't even have, I can't even, I hardly can pay for. Just go look at the house. Go look at it. Let's see. And sometimes they'll tell you, let's just put your money down. And because we mismanage our funds, we think we're broke. But if you quit going out every other day, you quit going out to eat, you quit buying stuff every other weekend, you might have a couple of dollars. And by the time they get to mapping that out, not only can you pay your debt off, but you can get in the house without the down payment. You in there now. But you wouldn't even go look because your perspective on the house was that it was too great for me. Ain't even no sense in going over there. And so God says, I want y'all to go look at it, but have a good attitude. This is already promised to you. It's yours. Go look at it. And then he says, watch this. He said, bring back some of the fruit. Bring that back to the camp so that folk can see. Go down there and look at it and bring back some of the fruit. They came to the valley of Eshcol, and they cut down a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they carried it between two of them on a pole. Y'all missed that. Y'all like grapes? Now, when you're really into grapes, you get the dark, red, black grapes. That's, man, it's got all the nutrients in it. The darker it is, the more nutrients. But I don't care how nutritious it is. Some of the biggest grapes I've ever seen. I've been to Asia where they have these big old grapes about the size of a golf ball. Even then, I can hold a cluster in my hands. But my Bible tells me that they cut one cluster of grapes and it took two men to carry it between them. Wait a minute now. They snuck in and cut off a cluster of grapes and said, man, let's bring this back. I can't, it's going to take two of us to get it. They bring that back. Now, let me give you their mindset now. We've been walking in the desert, eating scraps, whatever we could get a hold of, and now we've got fruit so big that grapes take men to carry a cluster. And this is what God wanted them to see. I want you to see how great this is going to be. Now, and not only were there grapes, the text says there were pomegranates, and figs. Now, all three of those fruit, I could go into a deep study on this with you, but I just want you to look at this. All three of those fruits come in bunches upon bunches of bunches. You ever open up a pomegranate, it's just seeds on top of seed, blessing on top of blessing. It's just all over the place, grapes all over the place. God is showing them it's more and more and more, and even if you get a piece of it, it's more off in that. Can you imagine coming from the desert and seeing this? You should be excited. Grapes, pomegranates, and figs. The place was called Eshcol because the cluster of the men of Israel cut down was there. Eshcol actually means grape. And they returned from spying out the land. Here's another piece you need to underline. For 40 days. Whenever you see the number 40 in Scripture, 40 tends to mean trials and probation. It's a probationary period. It is, how are you going to deal in this season? 40 days, 40 years. Moses spent the first 40 of this years finding out that he was a nobody. He spent another 40 years of his life learning about who made him. And then he spends another 40 years of his life finding out how God can take a nobody and make him a somebody. Are y'all with me? 40 can be probation and trial period. So I'm giving you some news that's greater than your mind can conceptualize. Big, huge grapes and pomegranates, and this land is yours. Now, what are you going to do with this? They marinated on it 40 days, the text tells me. And they came back to Moses, verse 26, and all the congregation and witness in the wilderness of Paran at Kadesh. They brought back word to them and all the congregation and showed them the fruit. Now here we are. Then they told them and said, we went to the land where you sent us, and it flows with milk and honey. Oh, it's great. And look, and this is the fruit. Now, if you're just getting excited about our report, look at the fruit. Both of y'all brothers, come on over here, bring it in here. What, did it take two of them to bring it? Did they bring some for all of us? Wow. That should make you excited. And for those that have, again, using that house analogy, you ever see the house that you really like, you already can see where you're going to put some furniture. Man, this is wow. And then they show you the prices 3 times what you imagine. You say, man, that's nice. Oh my goodness. And see, this relates. I really relate to this text because where we live now, it's kind of like that. We live not too far from my uncle who lives in our neighborhood, and we had already looked in the neighborhood, but guess what we did? They're nice now, don't get me wrong, but no, that ain't. And so I'm telling Felita, I said, yeah, that's nice. We done already look. Let's look over in this area. And she said, no, I got another location. Let me show you this. And while we're driving out there, I'm telling Jenny, this is kind of near that neighborhood. Well, yeah, okay. This is the street. This looks familiar. This street right here. You know what? They live in the same neighborhood too. I guess she's taking, they just live right down that street right there. I mean, we're getting closer and closer. And I'm thinking, but if we've already looked at these houses, there's no way. There's no way. And then it's, well, just go ahead and save the information. I had some days, Derek, to just look at it. Man, you remember, Jenny and I would just sit down and dream because we didn't have but 2 nickels to rub together. But we would dream about it. It's nice. Wow, look at what, man, and we could just walk right around and go see Omar. Man, that would be great. I know it would be nice. Yeah, all right, yeah. But God said, take a piece of the fruit. Hold on to this. Take the the image and look at it and see. Sometime God will have you walk in the office that you've already said, I've applied and they've turned me down. Go back over there and grab something off the desk. Take a pen, take a business card, hold on to this, because I'm giving you a sneak peek as to where you will be. You were coming in there wanting an employee, and I'm making you manager of the place, but you got to conceptualize this with great thinking. Be of good courage. So they bring back the report. Remember, I told you they had to sit on it for 40 days. They get it back. Verse number 28, the text says, nevertheless. The land is flowing with milk and honey. We were studying this a couple of weeks ago, and Remington said, so does that mean that the rivers had milk coming out of it? Hey, that's where my mind was at 9 years old. I get it. I get it. They fishing in milk, James, apparently. It's flowing with milk and honey. I said, no, Remington. I said, that means, what does milk do for baby's body? That's what they need. I said, what about honey? He said, that's sweet. I said, it's everything you need and anything you could want is in that land. And they said it is. But nevertheless, the people there that dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. And we saw the descendants of Anak there. These were giants. Can I break down that verse real quick for you? While God was wanting them to focus on the land, they got to looking at the people. Oh, y'all gonna miss this. Sometimes God is having you to focus on the land, and you worried about what people got to say and what people think about this. Forget the people, look at the land. It's yours, and you worried about people. How many times have you not stepped into the destiny God has for you because you worried about what the people got to say? Quit looking at people. Quit comparing yourself to people. Quit living in other people's mind. Quit letting the other people live in your mind. Quit looking at people. We spend all day long on social media doing what? Woo! Looking at people. And God said, I got something for you. And they say, yeah, but the people. Watch this. They saw giants, verse 28, verse 29, the Amalekites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites. We got the fruit right here. Now, Brother Herman, God didn't say, go to the land and bring back one of the people. Not only did they not bring back the people, they brought all the people. Hittites and Jebusites and Amorites and Anak and Canaanites. Y'all worried about people. How much further could we be in life if we weren't worried about other people's opinions? Sometimes we let other people's opinions keep us from trying. Sometimes we let other people's failures keep us from trying. Just because you didn't trust in God and you failed don't mean that I can't go through there and do this thing. I believe in God and I believe him at his word. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. And you tell me, no, you don't want to. No, because the last time, that's your problem. But he told me this is mine. It's already been reserved for me. And they said, all the people. Caleb, verse 30, quieted the people before Moses. Y'all be quiet talking about all them people. He said, let's go and take possession, for we are well able to overcome it. You need some of them people in your life. You need some people that's going to trust God when your faith gets a little shaky sometimes. Let's be real about it. As strong a Christian as you are and you think you are, every now and then your faith might get a little shaky. And that's just the reality of life. Sometimes we get a little shaky in our faith, but you need to have some friends that's going to be solid when you shake it. Somebody that said, let's go ahead and do it. I'll be with you, right? Let's go ahead. Why not? Don't let that whisper of doubt in your head. Sometimes the conflict is not on the outside. is on the inside. Sometimes the problem is not the problem, but my perspective of the problem. I'm looking at, now let me, I'm trying to get to this thing. Let me do this. Verse number 31. I want you to hold your finger right there. And let's just in our mind look at what just happened. God said, go look at it, bring back the report and some fruit. Y'all got that? Check. They came back. They brought back the report. Land flowing milk and honey. Here's the fruit and another report. Here's the people. Now, even though the focus is in the wrong place, none of the reports are a lie. Oh, y'all weren't expecting that. It's true. Were the descendants of Anak there? Yep. Amorites, Hittites, Jebusites, Canaanites, were they there? Yeah. Yeah. That's true. But again, it's your perspective on this. Sometimes you go to the doctor and they give you a report. Oh, it's getting quiet. The report may be very serious, may have dire consequences. Now, the report I was given might be true, but I know something else that's true too. It don't matter how big or how bad this report is, my God is bigger. Now, I don't want people, and see, this is the thing about faith that I don't want us to be disillusioned by. It doesn't mean that I don't understand what things are true. It doesn't mean that I don't look at the facts. Hey, the fact is they are there, but the fact also is this is my land. Now, could you imagine going into Canaan with, hey, this is ours anyway. Y'all on my property. No, they came to it with, no. We can't do it. They too big. Y'all don't believe me? Verse 31. But the men who had gone up with them said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. At this time, there's between 1.5 million to 3 million of them. And they looking at those people and saying, they're stronger than us. Now, I'm not just looking at the numbers. I'm looking at somebody that we put on the bench. You got God on your side. Me plus God is always the majority. But we don't see ourselves that way. And they didn't see themselves that way. And when they gave the report, they said, the land through which we have gone as spies is a land that devours its inhabitants. And all the people whom we saw in it are men of great stature. There we saw giants, the descendants of Anak. And we were like grasshoppers. Y'all, I don't want you to miss this. Pay close attention. We were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and we were grasshoppers in their sight. Do you know that how you see yourself is oftentimes how other people see you? If you see yourself at little or no value, guess how folk gonna treat you? Amen, walls and electric lights. They're going to treat you based on, and they saw themselves. Oh, we can't do, no, I ain't ever, and we'll let people talk us out of what God has promised us. Don't let what you see affect what you believe. We walk by faith, not by sight. I don't let this kind of stuff distract me from what God has promised me. It reminds me of Abraham. God made Abraham a promise. Through Isaac is the seed of promise. But I need you to go sacrifice him. Wait a minute, God. Hold on now. Wait just a minute. I finally did what you told me to do the way you told me to do it. And I got the son, and now you want me to kill him. But the Hebrew writer says Abraham was thinking either God is going to have to resurrect him from the dead or something, because why? God made me a promise. Now, how many of us are walking so strong on God's promise that even if what it looks like I'm about to do is walk into a dangerous situation, God, you're going to have to do something because you promised me. I'm walking anyway. It reminds me sometimes of how the kids through here, when they get to playing around stage, you hold out your hand, they'll jump at you, hold out your hand. At some point, they're just going to jump. And you know why they're jumping? Because they expect you. Come on, y'all. Just watch them. They expect you to catch them. And that's the kind of faith I want to have in my God. I just want to jump. Now, God, I'm jumping because you told me to jump. Now, you're going to have to catch me because you told me to jump. We going off in here, God. Now, watch this. They were a great people, but they didn't see themselves as a great people. You have a great destiny that God has ordained for you. He says, I know the plans I got. Plans to prosper you. Plans to give you a future. I don't have any plans for your destruction. It is for life. But you got to trust me. You got to believe me. So if we're going to do anything great, we got to start thinking greatly. Now, somebody's going to say, well, wait a minute. The scripture said don't think highly. I didn't say think highly. I said think greatly. I'm not better than anybody. But the God that I serve, you know what he specializes in? He specializes in taking nothing and making it something. So I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but I'm telling you what God has for me, man, it blows my mind. And sometimes he just has to show you. He had to let you walk in this and you say, wow, I ain't ever been around. You think about that, I got a whole, y'all are missing it. You're thinking about getting a promotion, and God said, no, I got a whole, you're going to run the whole business. We're going to start our own thing. But why don't we start our own stuff? Come on, church. Why don't we start our own business? Starting your own business is a lot of work. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Stay at the place where you at for 40 years. That's a lot of work. Huh? Is it not? Well, I don't know. I could get out there. Do you not trust your own work ethic? Look at how many awards you done got at that place where you work now. You're an outstanding employee, but when you employ yourself, guess what? I don't know. And watch this. But then you go to God and tell him to do some great stuff in your life. God said, I could do some great stuff in your life, but you got to take all these I don't knows out of here. You got to take all these I don't think I cans out of here. Do you not believe him? I'm not telling you to, because I know how people can be, but do you trust God? Do you believe him? And so our greatness begins in how we see ourselves through what God has promised me. Look at what God has done. I'm closing, but look at what he has done. Look at where you have come from. All of us in here have come from the mud. I'm talking literally now. We made by dust, okay? Come on. But even how you phrase it, when you say, I came from the mud, all of us have. Yeah. And God has done some, what didn't we sing about it? He's done marvelous things. That's what David said. David said, God, when I look at what you did when you made me, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works. You do an outstanding job, God. And if God has poured into you, anything is going to be great. It's got to be great because it's about him. And then we're able to tell the story even more accurately. How God took some grasshoppers and brought down some giants. I like that story. And that's what God is trying to get them to see. Yeah, you might be grasshoppers, but we're finna take down some giants. Yeah, Jericho may have some big walls, but you can bring them down. And watch this. You'll bring them down by just praising me. I don't want to go into another lesson, but the text says they walked around and they yelled at the walls. They walked around and praised God, and the walls came tumbling down. Huh? That's how great my God is. And so when I trust him at his word, my thinking has to shift. So we're going to pray about that today. That God takes Egypt out of our mind. That God takes bondage out of our mind. That God takes what we used to be. All of us have failed, and all of us have a propensity, a proclivity to failure. But check this out, I serve a good God. So I need to get that out of my mind. And we got to think, what was it, Brother Terry? We got to think 409. Taylor knows about 409. You know why it's called Formula 409, by the way? Y'all don't know. They were trying to come up with a cleaner that would meet certain standards, come up with a formula. And they came up with this formula and they tried it out and it didn't work. So then they tried it again. And they changed and tweaked and then they tried it again. And 408 times they failed. And on the 409th time, that's exactly what we needed it to do. And so we have to look at failure like that. Now, some of y'all left off at 17. Hey, I'm going to try it one more again. If this ain't it, then I'm through. It must not be for me kind of stuff. No. Keep walking by faith. Because if God has greatness in your destiny, it ain't going to stop till it's great. I'm not going to stop till I see what you've promised me. And watch this. I'm closing. But watch this. Even if I don't get to see it, I'm going to walk as if it's already happened. The Hebrew writer reminds us that there was a whole several generations of people who lived for a promise that they never got to see. But they worked it like they was going to see it tomorrow. So we need to move by faith in like manner. There's someone today that you recognize that even within yourself that you have doubted what God can do. And God can't work with doubt. He says, when you doubt, you're a double-minded man. You're expecting greatness while thinking about failure. Double-minded man. When you go to God with double-mindedness, you're saying, God, I trust you, but I got a plan B. I can't work with that. It's either all the eggs in my basket or don't bring a basket. That's how God looks at it. And so when we come to God by faith, we need to come to him with, God, you are my eggs, you are my basket. You the pilot, I'm not even in the cockpit. I'm in the back somewhere because I trust you. And when the turbulence hits, what do y'all do when the turbulence hits on the plane? You're laughing because I'm telling the truth on you. You pray, don't you? Oh, there's a lesson in it. But when turbulence happens in life, you doubt. Do the same thing. God, you got me now. I didn't know that this bottom was going to fall out of this, but you got me. There's someone today who's subject to the invitation, someone who needs to give their life to Christ. We witnessed it on last week, and we are expecting it every time the invitation is extended. We're expecting God to do what he does best. The blood still works. There's someone who's trying to experience the greatness and even live by what the world talks about, living your great life, but you can't do that outside of Christ. You can't, because the enemy is a liar. So there's someone today who's ready to give their life to Christ, hearing the word, believing the word, believing God at his word, repenting of your sins, turning from wickedness to righteousness, confessing the sweetest name that mortal tongue can call, being baptized, buried in the watery grave of baptism, to rise and walk in the newness of life. You got to be renewed, transformed by the renewing of your mind. You cannot go into a new year with an old mindset. you're going to experience it all over again. We're thinking new and we're thinking greater.